everyone. So how with the introduction to integration? It's a simple step, right, to do an integration of a function. So for your information, we have two types of integrals, which called as definite and indefinite integrals. So next, let's explore what is definite and indefinite integrals. Okay, now we want to see what is indefinite and definite integrals. Okay, if before this we learn about what is the integration process actually. Okay, where we know that the integration process is actually the reverse process of differentiation. Okay, let's say we have an equation y. Okay, let's say we have an equation y equal to any coefficient x to the power of n. Okay, where a is any coefficient, any constant. Okay, and n is the power of x. So when we are doing the process of differentiation, what we will get is the derivative of y, with respect to x. Okay, and what we do to our equation when we do a process of differentiation, okay, here we do a process of differentiation. So what will happen? Okay, the first one is we will multiply the power of x with any coefficient that you have in front. Okay, so a will be multiplied with n. Then you have x. And the second step is the power n here you minus with 1. So you will get n minus 1. Okay, so what will happen if you do a process of integration? So actually, the process of integration, as mentioned before, is the reverse process of differentiation. So it will turn back your equation here into its original equation by using two-step technique, but it involves the opposite operation from the differentiation. If the differentiation, the operation involved is multiply and minus. In integration, the operation involved is plus and divide. So what you need to do first if you want to do a process of integration? Okay, so this one is process of integration. So let's say we take the one that we already differentiate, this one. Okay, so a and x n minus 1, we want to differentiate, we want to integrate. So the first step is you need to plus 1 the power of x. So now you have the power of x, you plus with 1, and you need to divide by the new power. So this one is the new power. So n minus 1 plus 1. Okay class, if you see, minus 1 plus with 1 is equal to 0. So this one is eliminated. This one is equal to 0, eliminated. So what you have here is a and x divided by n. So n and n finish. So you left only, you have power n here. Okay, so you left only ax to the power of n. The original one. Okay, that is what process of integration do. Okay, it turn back the one that you have differentiate into its original equation. Now, what is actually the definite and indefinite integrals? So the definite and indefinite integral can be differ only. The definite integral, it has the limit in the integration. We have limit in our integrals. Okay, so if you can see, this one is called the definite integral and this one is called the indefinite integral. So how can you differ both of these is by, if you can see any limit, any number at the bottom and on top of the integral sign, means is involved definite integral, where we can find the value of our integration equation by substituting the value of the lower limit and the upper limit. The one at the bottom we call as a lower limit, lower, bawah, and the one on top we call as an upper limit, atas. Okay, but the process how to do the integration still the same. Only we need to substitute value into our integration, into our equation that have been integrated. Okay, so it differ from the indefinite integral where we don't have any value in the integration sign. Okay, let's say I give you example. We want to integrate, okay, the simplest one, 4x to the power of 3 with respect to x. And you can see there is a value 0 to 2. Okay, one hint or one condition that you need to make sure to ensure is the limit at the bottom must be smaller than the limit on top. Okay, the limit at the bottom is called as lower limit. Therefore, it must be smaller from the value on top, which is your upper limit. So, when you have this one, we call this as definite integral. Definite integral. So how we want to solve definite integral? So it will be the same as the previous process of integration. You need to integrate first your equation. Okay, so integrate 4x to the power of 3. What you need to do? 2 steps. The first step is the power need to be plus with 1. So it will be 4x to the power of 4. And the second step, you need to divide everything with the new power, which is 4. Okay, and for your information, whenever you are doing the definite integral, there is no more plus c. Plus c only we put when we are doing the indefinite integrals. So there is no more plus c, but what you have here is the lower limit and the upper limit that you need to substitute. Okay, class, if you can see here, 4 and 4 you can cancel out because you have 4 on top and you have 4 in the denominator. So 4 divided by 4 is equal to 1, so we can cancel it out. So what you left here is only x to the power of 4 and the limit is from 0 to 2. So how can you solve your definite integral? The first that you need to do is you take the upper limit 2 and substitute inside your x. Okay, if you integrate with respect to x, then you need to substitute your limit into x. If you have many x, substitute in each x. Okay, so it will be the first one 2 to the power of 4. And then you need to minus, okay, the sign is minus. Now you substitute the lower limit into x. So you have 0 to the power of 4. Okay, so 2 to the power of 4 is equal to 16 minus 0 to the power of 4 is equal to 0. So what you have here is 16, the value. If we have integration of 4x to the power of 3 with respect to x without any limit, this one calls as indefinite integral. So bila when you integrate, what you will get is 4x power plus 1, 4, divide by the new power 4, and remember to put plus c. This one have been explained in the previous video. So 4 and 4 can be cancelled out. So what you have here is x to the power of 4 plus c. This one is your answer. So you can see what is the difference between definite and indefinite integrals. If you have indefinite integral, the one without any limit here, okay, indefinite integral, the answer will be in the form of equation with plus c. But if you have your definite integrals, mean you have the limit for your integration, okay, the final answer will be in the form of value. Okay, so this is how we differ the value the indefinite and definite integrals, and how to solve the definite integrals. Okay, we already see on what is the difference between definite and indefinite integration. So now we want to continue with a few rules of integration. We want to know how to do an integration and a few hint or rules that we can use while doing or while using the integrals operation. Okay, so before this we have already discussed on the techniques of integration, which involve two steps similar to differentiation process, where the step involves two operation, which is plus and divide. Okay, so if you can see on the formula of integration here, you can see that every time we want to integrate a function of x with respect, a function of x to the power of n. Let's say we have no coefficient in front, or actually you have the coefficient in front here, but the coefficient in front here is equal to 1, so you cannot see 1, because 1 you multiply with whatever number, you will get that number itself. So we not write 1 in front of any function. Okay, so let's say we have to integrate x to the power of n with respect to x. When we are talking about integrate some function with respect to some variables, it means that we want to change, okay? The variables that change is according to here. If it stated that with respect to x, means we will change only whatever related to x. If you have another variable, let's say y, we will not disturb y. Okay, we only disturb x because this integration is with respect to x. Okay, so what to do when we want to do a process of integration? We have discussed before, where the first step is you need to plus the power of your x by 1. First step in integration. And the second step is you need to divide with the new power, which is n plus 1. This one is the new power. So this one is the second step. And whenever you are integrate the indefinite integration, where you don't have any lower limit and upper limit here, you always need to put plus c at the end of the answer. Okay, this one have been explained before. It different when you have the definite integrals, where you have your lower limit, let's say a, and the upper limit, let's say b, and you always need to be to remember that the limit a below here must be smaller than the limit in b. That's why we call A as a lower limit and B is the upper limit. The value of B is more than the value of A, usually. Okay, and whenever we want to integrate, when we have definite integral for the function xn with respect to x, okay, the first thing you need to do is you still need to integrate this one by using basic technique of integration, two-step technique, which is involve the plus of 1 for the new power. You will get n plus 1, and you need to divide by the new power. The new power now is n plus 1, so you need to divide by n plus 1. But because this one is definite integral, so you no need for you to write c plus c, but you need to compute the value of your integration from the lower limit to the upper limit. How to compute? First one, you will substitute the value of upper limit inside x, and then you will minus with substitution of the lower limit inside x, and you will get the answer in terms of value. This one is for definite integral that we have done in the previous video. Okay, so this one is the basic techniques or the formula to do an integration. Now we want to see a few rules of integration. So the first rule is, if you have been asked to integrate, there is nothing here, only written with respect to x. What is the meaning of this one? It actually means that you need to integrate 1 with respect to x. There is a constant in front, but because the constant is 1, we cannot see. If it is other than 1, you can see. For example, integrate 5 with respect to x. Integrate 7,000 with respect to x. You can see. But because of the constant is 1, you cannot see because we are usually not written 1. 1, you multiply by whatever number, you will get that number itself. So you not written 1. So how to integrate 1? So the rules is, whenever you have to integrate 1 dx, what you will get as an answer is the variable x. It depends on this one. If it's respect to x, you will get x. Okay, don't forget x plus c if it's indefinite integral. If you have to integrate dy, you cannot see any constant in front, so you know that the constant in front is 1. Now you need to do an integration with respect to y. So what you will get? Y plus c. If you have to integrate dz, you cannot see any constant in front, so you know that you now are integrating 1 with respect to z. Because of you are integrating 1 with respect to z, so your answer will be z plus c. Why this one happened is because of, whenever you want to integrate constant, for example, you want to integrate 5 with respect to x. I have told you before, we will only disturb value of x, but now you cannot see any x in your function. But remember, before, I already repeat to you that actually, behind every constant, you have x. But your x is to the power of 0. When you have x to the power of 0, the value of x to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Okay, therefore, if you substitute your x to the power of 0 here with 1, you actually will get integration of 5 dx. That's why you cannot see any x behind your coefficient, behind your constant. But actually, you have x. Your x is to the power of 0. Because of x to the power of 0 equal to 1, you cannot see. That one is the idea. If your x is to the power of 1, then you will get x. If your x to the power of 2, then you can see your x to the power of 2. But if you have x to the power of 0, usually we are not writing the x to the power of 0. Because we know that the value of x to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Therefore, actually, when you have been asked to integrate 5 with respect to x, you actually have been asked to integrate 5x to the power of 0 with respect to x. So you will do 2-step techniques of integration. The first one is the power you need to plus 1. Okay, so now your power is 0. So if you plus 1, it will become x to the power of 1. We are not written 1. We just written 5x. And then the second step, you need to divide by the new power. So when you divide by the new power is 1. You divide by 1 plus with c, because this one is indefinite integral. You have no limit, lower limit and upper limit. Therefore, 5x divided by 1, you actually get 5x plus c. This is the answer. Okay, that's why when you have been asked to integrate dx without any coefficient in front, you actually have been asked to integrate 1 dx. And remember, every constant have x behind it, but the x is to the power of 0. So you actually have been asked to integrate 1x to the power of 0 dx. So we actually use the same technique of integration for this one, where we first plus the power with 1. So you have 1x to the power of 0, so it become 1x to the power of 1. You divide by the new power is 1, you plus with c. Okay, 1 and 1 you can cancel out, so what you left is x plus c. That's why whenever you have been asked to integrate with respect to x without any constant, you will get the variable x plus c according to here. Okay, that one is the rule number 1. The rules number 2 said that if you have to integrate k dx, where k is a constant, okay, where k is a constant, you have to integrate k dx. For example, this one, integrate 5 dx. So this one is a constant. Okay, so another way on how to integrate this type of function is you can take out your coefficient, your constant outside of your integrals. Okay, so it will become 5 integrate dx. And we know that integration of dx will give you x plus c. So what you will get in return is 5x plus 5c. Okay, and because of c is a constant you multiply by constant, you will get another constant. For example, let's say c is 2. So 5 multiplied by 2, you get 10. 10 is another constant. So we just write 5x plus c. No need to write the coefficient. Okay, so whenever you integrate some function that have the constant or the coefficient in front, you always can bring the coefficient outside of the integral form. Okay, integral sign symbol. For example, if you have integrate 70x to the power of 2 with respect to x, for example. So what you can do here is you can bring 70 outside of this integration. So you write again, it becomes 70 integrate x squared with respect to x. So what you need to do is you only need to settle or get the answer for this one. You just left the 70 outside there. Okay, and then now you put bracket. Okay, integrate x squared. You will get the first step, power plus 1. So you will get x cubed over 3 plus with c. So what you will get in return, you will multiply back. So it becomes 70x to the power of 3 over 3 plus with c. Okay, so that one is rule number 2. Rule number 3 is if you have two different functions. Okay, before that, you need to always remember this one can only be applied if the constant or the coefficient and the variable is multiplication in between. If you have like this, integrate 70 plus x squared dx, you cannot bring 70 outside, cannot. Because if you can see, this one is another function, this one is another function. So this one is for the rule number 3. Okay, you only can take out the constant outside of the integral when between the constant and variable you have the multiplication process. Alright? Okay, so now if we have rules number 3, if we have two different functions that have been separated by the process of addition and subtraction here. For example, you have to integrate 7x to the power of 3 plus 3x to the power of 2 dx. So you see here, you have two functions. The first function is 7x to the power of 3. And the second function is 3x to the power of 2. Between them, you have plus. Okay, you have two ways. The first way is you strictly integrate one by one. Okay, because you know that you need to do an integration for both function, and then you just strictly integrate. So you integrate 7x to the power of 3, you will get 7x to the power of 4. Divide by 4 plus, follow the sign here. Integrate 3x to the power of 2, you will get 3x to the power of 3 divided by 3. And the last one, you plus with c at the end of the answer. Now, you can just simplify which one you can simplify. 3 can divide by 3. Okay, so what you have as a final answer is 7x to the power of 4 over 4 plus x to the power of 3 plus c. One way. Another way is you separate both functions. Okay, for example, now you have to integrate 7x to the power of 3 plus 3x to the power of 2 with respect to x. You actually can separate these two integrals by giving them each one function, one integral sign. So what will happen is you will get integration of 7x to the power of 3 dx plus, follow the sign here, integration of 3x to the power of 2 dx. Okay, we separate both functions, but actually you still need to do the same process. You need to integrate this one. You will get 7x to the power of 4 over 4 plus, integrate this one, you will get 3x to the power of 3 over 3 plus c. It's the same thing. It is that to inform you, if you have two different functions that have been separated by the process of the operation of plus and minus, you can separate both functions by giving them each integral form, integral sign. Okay, so this one is the rule for integration. We will see a few examples after this.